Welcome to the Soul Revival Podcast, where we have deep and meaningful conversations exploring modalities, tools, and healing, guiding you back to your most expansive soul self.
Hello, and welcome to the Soul Revival Podcast. Today's episode is a very big topic. It can be somewhat of a heavier topic, but I feel that this is something that needs to be talked about, and we need to have an open discussion about it. Lindsay and I today are bringing awareness around discernment and how to use discernment in a world full of AI or in a world full of energies that may not be in alignment with your true essence or your soul self.
So, and just a point of clarification, like if you're thinking like discernment, where are they taking this? We're actually going to be taking it a few different directions, but it's part boundary setting, it's part intentionality of consumption, it's part like who do you trust in and what content do you trust to be able to consume to avoid rabbit holes? So we're going to be talking about it from a few different perspectives, but I just wanted to, because when we first started talking about having this conversation, Autumn, I was like, who discernment, like where, because my mind goes a few different directions when that word comes up for me. And it does feel a little bit like restrictive energy, but I think that we can be discerning while still being open and while still being curious. And while if you're listening to this and you are a healer, if you're deeply spiritually connected, which I would assume you are if you're listening to the Soul Revival podcast, you don't have to, this isn't like constrictive energy. This is just protective energy and being discerning about what you allow in your orbit. I mean, I just did a beautiful meditation actually today for the first time. I've been supposed to be doing it. I was like told about it a couple weeks ago to do with my dog Cash. It's Tammy Billups said it's one that she created, and it's about boundaries. And it was like picturing this beautiful bubble around you that positive light and positive energy can come in, but it's a wall for a barrier for anything energy that like breaks whatever boundaries you might have emotionally, physically. And when we do this, it mirrors back to our animal friends. But I picture that same type of bubble when it comes to discernment,
Absolutely. That's a great way to put it. I love that you said that because every day we are thrown different things in our mind's eye and our heart, and using that bubble of discernment, what am I actually going to let in? What am I going to put my energy in? Because our energy, we're working so hard to heal ourselves. We're working so hard to feel the happiness and the joy and to stay in alignment. And so quickly we can be thrown different directions just by something that's, AI generated, or, something else that we see on the news, or something else, on TikTok, or, all of these different outlets. I was actually just this last month really called to delete all of my social media, especially the apps. I was still checking it on my computer because let's just, I'm a groupie, but but on my phone alone, I was spending 6 hours a day on my phone. When I deleted the apps, I was down to 3 hours, 2.5, 3 hours. So
Wow.
cutting that time, I mean, discernment in time and the energy that you're scrolling or, using. I always say scrolling because I feel like that's really what gets my energy most of the time. Lindsay knows this, but the day, we were talking about different episodes to post on the Soul Revival and getting that in alignment. And I told Lindsay discernment, like, let's talk about discernment. And then later that day, I re-downloaded TikTok, of course, on my phone because TikTok's not one you can really watch on the computer. And all of a sudden, Lindsay knows the story, but I shit you not, I started down this rabbit hole of this man that was abducted by dolphins for 3 days. It's everywhere. Like there's like news outlets, everyone's talking about it, and I am fully believing it. Not fully believing that dolphins abducted this man, but thinking this man was like probably astral traveling, probably spent 3 days on the beach. That's why he was so sunburnt, just really diving deep in this rabbit hole. And I'm telling Mark, my fiance, like, well, maybe the dolphins needed him because he us humans can co-create and manifest at a very quick rate, and maybe other animals can't do this. It was so deep, Lindsay. And literally that morning, Spirit had told me discernment, and it just went out the window. And I'm like, oh my goodness, I fell for it again. Like I literally fell for it again. I put all of my emotions in it. It got me all frazzled up, and it was false.
We want to express deep gratitude for everybody who sponsors the podcast. It really, really matters. It allows us to invest our time, effort, and energy in bringing you the most relevant spiritual content. So if you're feeling called, please subscribe, click like, leave a review, or sponsor the podcast. We very, very much appreciate you.
It was literally not even true.
Yes. But I also want to point out that no, it wasn't true. And there's elements of that story that are meant for the broader consciousness. So that story obviously went super viral. You're certainly not the only one who went down that rabbit hole. Like there's a lot of bunnies. It's spring. There's a lot of bunnies in that rabbit hole, Autumn.
Oh
But
my
it's
goodness.
like I feel like with all things now, and I think this is the perspective, and I think this is why we can hold the energy of discernment and openness at the same time. Like what we're in this is true for anything that happens in your life, right? Even if it's something you think you quote unquote didn't want to happen, what energy of truth or essence were we meant to like take from that story, you know? And that's like where we can attach to versus like the facts of the story and feeling like you got duped because you went down this rabbit hole of like these, imaginary dolphins. But this is where I think the energy of curiosity comes into play, and like being courageous about your curiosity, and you put yourself out there, and that's the one thing I love about you, Autumn. Like you will like go out there, like even if it's 110% like wrong or like down the wrong path, like you always are curious, and that childlike curiosity I think is so important. And this is one of those things where I think like we have to have duality, because we come with it with a childlike curiosity, we come with it with childlike joy, and we say, okay, well, like what elements of this seem real and what seem imaginary? Like the astral travel thing, very plausible. I mean, all of us we did a whole episode on dreams, and I lucid dream. I know you lucid dream. So like that's a whole element in of itself that is true. So I feel like this is where the discernment piece actually really comes into play. And I think the reason you had that experience on the day that you mentioned this episode is because there were elements of truth in what you were being shown and what you from like a soul level recognized. You just like went down the rabbit hole a little bit.
And exactly. I think that my soul is so excited and ready for humanity to catch up, that like animals can communicate. And,
Oh yeah.
there's a law that humans can't speak to dolphins. Like, why is that law out there? Well, because probably humans and dolphins once communicated and telepathically. It actually is a law, and it is real. So I think that my soul, that childlike expression, was so excited because it's like, yes, the truth is going to come out. And then all of a sudden it was like, oh man, of course it's ripped for me. But there was so much imagination that went into that. And Mark was like, oh, you wasted your time. I'm like, no, I didn't. I really had a fun time exploring all of the different routes that took me.
Yeah.
And out of everything, I felt so grateful because humans can manifest, and humans can create the realities of our dreams, and humans can change the world. So it only takes us to use our discernment on, what feels in alignment with us, and to really pull back when it starts getting restricted. But it's still the exploration of it that was exciting for me.
Yeah, well, and I think there's intentionality in the fact that it was dolphins, and obviously we can telepathically communicate with any being, each other, animals, plants. But I think the fact that it was dolphins to me seems particularly intentional because they are so high vibrational, and the ripple effect of their sound is so high vibrational in nature, and rises the collective. So I feel like there's even important messaging in that.
Yeah, it did not happen for no reason at all. There was some
Yeah.
reason that went
Yeah.
viral like that. And I think that it's going to open up a lot of people's consciousness to what is. And then when it does happen in the future, we won't be so shocked.
Yeah. Well, and I think this is so important. I mean, obviously that's one example, but we're all being hit with AI and AI generated stories constantly, AI generated videos and images. And so I think we had an episode last season around boundaries for consumption and how much what you consume and how you consume it. But I would say extending that to the accounts that you follow and making sure that the accounts that you follow on socials are people and healers and media outlets and sources that you trust and that resonate with your truth. And I would even suggest, I mean, we've talked about this in past episodes, like that hell yes, hell no energy,
Mhm.
like tuning into your body when you see a new account. And I feel like as females, particularly, we can get sucked down this rabbit hole. Like you can see somebody that looks a certain way and feel like you have to look that certain way if you're going to put yourself out there and be on socials. This is like a whole rabbit hole that we as women can go down like hell with that prevents us from even putting ourselves out there and being vulnerable and speaking our truth that somebody needs to hear. So I feel like doing kind of a check in with your physical body when you are about to follow somebody or you're about to deep dive into somebody's content, if it comes across your feed and it's not somebody you know or trust, like what instantly comes up from you. And I had an opposite thing happen to me a couple weeks ago. I had somebody come across my Instagram who is an astrologer and he does like weekly reviews for your sign. And obviously the algorithms were on point because this guy is awesome and I love his content. And it's like just clean, pure of love and light content. And of course, I was delivered I deeply resonate with my rising sign, as those of you listen to the podcast in the past know, as well as my sun sign. And I was getting delivered both.
Oh my.
And also his messaging for both was like very parallel. But that's an example of I have so much stuff crowd across my feed. We all do. But I was like, okay, I like checked in with his energy. Did it resonate with me? Yes. And so now like I actually am consuming his content. But I think it's really, really important to do that, like fact check with your physical body. Like, does this person's content really resonate with you? And is even somebody that you want to start to follow? And if their content makes your nervous system go awry, or it makes you fearful, or you just don't feel good consuming it, don't follow them. Don't go deeper down that rabbit hole because that energy is like not for you. And we can get enough of that other places. We don't need to be like consuming it intentionally.
Exactly. And even if everyone else in the world is following them and your body is
Yeah.
telling you not to, listen to yourself, listen to your inner compass because your body will know first before your mind does. And there's nothing wrong if you're getting a different vibration than the rest of the world. Trust yourself in your own intuition. I love that you said, the expansiveness, like that hell yes and hell no energy, because I feel like if it's not in alignment with you, you're gonna get that tightness in the chest. It's gonna be restrictive. You also might overthink it. So if you begin to overthink it, okay, this is not in alignment. And then if it's urgent, if you're feeling that urgency around it or pressure around it, like I have to follow them because everyone else is following them. No, you don't. That is your body telling you it's not in alignment. If it is in alignment, if you're checking in it with your body and it is feeling like good content for you to absorb, it's going to feel calm. It's going to feel expansive. It's going to be like this inner knowing of like, yes, let's do this. Like they're so kind. Another thing I just want to touch about, like talk about really quick is people change, right? People change. They go through their own seasons, and some seasons they can be very aligned with their higher self, and they could have such great intentions and such an open heart. And then other seasons, something could have happened where they shifted route, and all of a sudden you follow them in their highest self season, and you're not agreeing with them anymore, but you know what their soul is, and you know what their soul like essence is. And so your mind is telling you you should stick around, but your heart is telling you, maybe I don't want this content anymore. Listen to your heart. Listen to your heart. And you know, keep your energy sacred. Like I said in the beginning, we work so hard to keep it in alignment and to keep our self whole. So don't let others, outside sources, disrupt your day. And for some people it's a lot easier. Well, it's a choice to give it that emotion. I'm not going to let that bother me, especially in men. I mean, I think they're that like the 24-hour cycle they're on. God, I wish I had it sometimes, but that's not me. I can't do that. Like I am so empathic. I'm literally like just absorbing everything that's thrown to me. So just really having the power to pause and say yes before you just instantly click or instantly join or instantly get sucked into the loophole of a man kidnapping a dolphin.
I love the levity behind that. There's a couple things I want to mention from what you just said. First of all, I really appreciate you bringing up that just because everybody's following somebody doesn't mean that you should or you need to. And this has deeply resonated with me. There's a pretty famous person that's in the like spiritual space whose energy has never resonated with me. And I'm intentional. Like, I don't follow this person. Like, I don't watch this person's content. Like, and who knows, maybe someday, like, something will come out about this person. Like, just because everybody's doing it doesn't mean it's the thing to do. And sometimes people just like are in the matrix, even in the spiritual space. So listen to your intuition in regards to who you follow. And I think another important thing that you brought up that I'm going to kind of go on the heels of is the idea of like, if you do get caught up in something, I mean, it happens to all of us. We're human, right? We're having this 3D experience. But I think one of the things that came up when I was researching doing this episode with you, Autumn, was the idea of reflection, the idea of prayer and reflection, and using prayer and reflection to make sure that our priorities are in alignment. And you did that by, not necessarily saying that everybody should cancel their social media. Obviously for us, we're running social media businesses, and I think social media gives an amazing platform. But if you think you need to like tune out for a while, or like you think you need to restrict the accounts that you're following and like ease back into adding more accounts that you're following, but like really sitting back and reflecting on why something bothered you, triggered you, or took you down a rabbit hole. And then what we kind of did with this episode, talking through the dolphins, like what were the elements of truth? Like what kind of reflection can you have back on that you gained from that experience, even though, you might feel initially like you got quote unquote duped or whatever.
Yeah, I think that the perspective of it, especially in and not to hold shame around it.
Yeah.
Like there I told Lindsay immediately, like, I'm so glad I only sent it to you. And as soon as I said that, I'm just like, well, first I am grateful I did. But also like there's no shame in it. Everyone gets caught up in some type of, you know, situation, and not to carry the shame of it, and just finding the love and the perspective of why did it happen, what were you so curious about, what was holding this huge rabbit hole that you went down. So
And what
that's so true.
excited you? Because there are elements of it that like excited you, which I think gets to the core essence of your personality, which is like this beautiful childlike joy.
Yes, that's really what excited me, and just that, I feel like humans think that they're like the hierarchy, like the, or whatever the word is, we have such like a ego to us of things. So I thought that it was really cool that the scripts were flipped. I mean, I'm sorry, I'm just gonna tell you my truth. I was very happy that the script was flipped, but it
I agree
wasn't.
with that. I
Maybe one
understand
day.
that completely. That is why I have four dogs.
Exactly. Oh, and it's 2:22 on my clock right now. Just had to
Hey,
throw
me
that out.
too.
But there's definitely different ways. Before we started this podcast, Lindsay was talking about, discernment in Christ. And I really liked what you were bringing up in those topics of using boundaries and your soul essence, to really call forward and to do good and be good. I'll kind of let you explain it because you explained it really well, but
Yeah, I think just like being not outsourcing our power and knowing that like we are one with Christ consciousness, and that when we are open, when we are genuine, when we are authentic and curious, that energy is like our true essence. And we can do that and still boundary check, but that's a way to like make sure that we're holding our own power.
Absolutely, absolutely. And check in with your grandparents, check in with your family. I'm telling you what, my grandma sends me like the most bizarre things, and I have to tell her like, Grandma, that's not real. And even like the emails that go out, this older generation is so confused and just baffled by all of the scams and the intentions that go into this world. So I felt called to, remind you to just check in and tell your family this episode. Tell them what you learned from this, because it's important to get it out and to let them know, like, hey, there's ways you can see what is real and fake just by using your inner compass.
Yeah, exactly. Because I think, AI has just gotten more and more sophisticated, and regardless of what generation you're in, like anybody can get tripped up by it. But doing a check in with your physical body can be a really good way to find out if it's truth or not. So,
Yeah, and there's one more thing. Like, I love AI. I absolutely love it. I think
yeah.
that it has really great benefits, really great, feedback, intelligence, education. You can learn so much from it. But with everything, there's always a balance, always yin and yang. So,
And it's the
um,
intention behind the user using it, right? And who's putting
exactly,
it out there.
exactly, exactly. So, send love, give love. Try to center your days around love, and use that love to really start organizing what you are consuming in your day-to-day world, because it matters.
And I would just say, I'll end on like, if you are confused or you're not clear about something, go into meditation, ask your spirit team before you go to bed to bring truth to you. If you're feeling like you can't fact check against your body, ask your spirit team. That's what they're there for. Like, there's nothing that's above or below our spirit team. They're happy to help us in any way possible.
Absolutely. And just stay zoomed out. We're a tiny portion of this whole entire universe, like floating on a blob in the in the solar system. So if you feel yourself really getting pulled in, just allow yourself to zoom out and remember that we are just on a floating planet in the middle of space.
Very important reminder, Autumn.
All right. All right. This was a good one. I hope you have a good day, Lindsay. If you love today's episode, don't forget to leave us a 5-star review. Follow our podcast. We release a new episode each and every week, and join us on Facebook inside the Soul Revival community. Come be a part of the magic. We'll see you there.